tutorial is going to show you how to configure WordPress on your own hosting server. We started out installing WordPress. Remember, there are two things basically required to set up WordPress installation. That is, you need the WordPress files from wordpress.org and you need a database. If there was to be a third thing, I'm going to say that is your hosting company. And we talk about those. Look at some of the other videos, the prior videos, if you want to catch this series in order and follow along. Okay, what I did, I'm working live. I have now installed my files. I've created my database and set it up. And now I am going to create the configuration. What it wants me to do first is to create the configuration file. It used to be you had to set these up manually. That is, I would have to go in and physically edit the file called wp-config.php, and it was a little more complicated to do, and you can still do it that way, but since they've updated WordPress, it's much easier now. So type in yourdomain.com, and I am going to click create configuration file. What it's going to ask for, remember the database name, the username, the database password, and the host name that I asked you to record. You will now need these. So let's go to the next page. The fifth thing, just want to make a brief note, the table prefix, if you want to run more than one WordPress installation in a single database, then you would change that. Say for instance you had a blog, but you wanted to also install, say, some subdomains or something on your website, like sales or store at yourdomain.com, then you might create a prefix called store. Now, I wouldn't use that, it's too simple, but anyway, let's go to the next page. Okay, the database name, you type that in, you type in the username, password, and sometimes the host name is localhost on some servers, which is really not a good idea for security purposes, but that's what it is sometimes. And then the prefix. I'm going to turn my computer off and type this stuff in, and then I'll come back and we'll finish the configuration. Okay, now once you've entered all that information, you're going to click next, and it's going to bring you to this page, and click run the install. Now you want to put your site title, which is the title of your website, and you can change all this stuff later. Username by default is admin. You want to change that. It's not security safe, so change it to something that you will remember. Enter a password twice. This is going to be your master password to this blog or to this installation. And finally, enter your email address. I would use a Google or Yahoo or AOL email address, something like that. And just remember what that is. This is what you will need in case you forget your password or something to this particular installation. You can use a WordPress setup or blog interchangeably for a website or just a blog alone. I typically design a website, hand code a website from scratch and use HTML and CSS and install the blog as my secondary installation. However, for small business owners who have multiple other functions to do as well as run their business, they may want control over their own website, and so I would recommend using a WordPress installation just to host your own site so that you can edit it and do things that you need to do, and you can find out how to actually manage your blog after it's installed by watching the other videos on this website. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this information, and I'll be right back. Once you're done, it's going to ask you to enter the username that you just selected and the password you just created. A note about passwords: make sure your password contains one capital letter, one special symbol, and one number. Any combination, any way, but at least one capital letter, one special symbol, and one number, and that makes your password a little safer. If you are able to successfully log in, you should get to the dashboard page that looks like this. And this is an empty WordPress installation. I want to show you quickly, since I didn't show you in another video, what your web folder should look like when it's empty. Okay, I just logged in using FTP, and remember in the last video we talked about moving all the cells over, and I told you to get Fire FTP. Really, you should have put Fire space FTP to actually find that plugin. But you will have this side over here. The left side represents my computer and all the files on it and folders, and the right side represents my web server. And your web server contains the root folder represented by the dash, and I'm selecting the root, and the actual files to this folder are pointed to a folder called the website name.com or .net, and inside of it are the actual files. This particular example does not have a WordPress installation in it. This is just a starter site that hasn't been set up, but I wanted you to see what a web server directory structure looks like. Once you begin putting a lot of files and storing stuff on your website, you might store stuff like video, you might store stuff like documents and things like that that will be related to your website, and you'll actually create folders for them. To create a folder, you just right click and create directory, and it creates a new directory. You name the directory, and just click anywhere in a blank spot. And I'm going to delete that because I don't want this folder in there, but this was just for demonstration purposes. But to delete a folder, you right click and delete, and you click OK, and it will delete the directory off of your system. You do the same thing to create a file, and again, uploading files are relatively simple. And that's all I wanted to show you in this video. In the next video, we will talk about things like setting up your actual, now that you've got it installed, we'll talk about setting up the site for it to run. Thank you for watching.